What's up, YouTube? Back with another carburetor video because that's what YouTube wants. It wants carburetor videos. So today we're gonna be working on this XS650. Give you a little peekaboo at this turd. So slowly putting this thing together, building it, doing all the things, and I was working on the fuel line. I got this nice little curly Q fuel line, and then come down and I figured I'll rebuild the carbs before I get this thing running. So today's video is going to be on rebuilding 1978 XS650 carburetors. Super exciting. So we got kits for them. One of the problems that I had with these carbs is I've already got them apart. I've cleaned most of the stuff. One of the problems that I had was that these choke valves were seized, and somebody went and was ripping on them, and you can't really see that. Focus. It's bent. So I just ordered the kits to replace it. So we're just going to replace everything. These kits are, yes, I know, they're the offshore Amazon kits. Yeah, they're not great, but whatever. They were like 20 bucks. So let's get into it, put this thing back together. Then we'll set it all up. And this bike currently doesn't run yet. That's the goal, is to rebuild this and get it back to a running state. Here we go. So this carb's already been cleaned out. The other one has not yet. The jet size that comes in this kit, main jet, 135. I don't know what size that pilot jet is. The thing we should do is measure the height of that. I'll have to look up what the measurement is, 24 mil or something like that. 24 mil. That's from the top of here to the base underneath that gasket. So we're set at 27 mil. So we can change that by bending this little tab here very gently. Very gently. So that little tab right in there, I just folded it up. That gives us a little more height on the float. So this will be upside down. The fuel bowl full of fuel, and then shuts off the fuel flow through that valve right there. There's your inlet lines for your fuel. Comes in. As the carburetor's functioning, the fuel level is getting drawn down. These floats will lower, opening up that valve in there, allowing fuel to fill the bowl. So if we don't have the correct height set on our floats, what can happen is, well, we'll starve the carburetor. So it was set at 27, and just a quick little Google search said between 24 and 27. So we're gonna go to 24. Okay, so now we're at 24. So what I did was I adjusted that little tang right there at the end of my ruler. I bent it down in a measurement from the base with no gasket to the top of those floats. And I'm looking for 24 mil. One thing that I've learned over the years when working on carburetors is that don't be cheap. Spend money on a good Phillips head screwdriver. Trust me. And that's not just carburetors. I'm all about saving money, but when it comes to screwdrivers especially, buy the good ones. Carburetors are one of those things that everybody who owns a fucking hammer thinks that they can rebuild them, and then they end up stripping shit. And I got a bike over there tucked in the back that was running kind of fucked up, and when I pulled it apart and I checked out what was going on with it, why it was running so fucked up, there was a giant hole. There was a hole in the carburetor intake body here because somebody had decided that they put a longer bolt or a longer screw on the bowl, and it busted through into the carburetor, which is probably why I got the bike so cheap. But they make stupid people every day. Unfortunately, the kit did not come with a new seal for around the choke. Which is unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Nothing fancy here, it's just nuts and bolts. You don't need to tighten these up until you're blue in the face. Just snug. If you want to strip them, then that's fine, that's your prerogative, but I prefer not to. Guess that's just who I am. Pretty sure I fucked this up. Okay, am I losing my mind here? No. I'm not losing my mind. Maybe I am. Maybe just a little bit. The spring in the kit is substantially... That's why I was... The original spring compared to the spring in the kit is a lot larger. Which explains why that wouldn't go together. There we go. Just see that nice 1, 1, 2 1/4. That's where we're going to start. Thought I was losing my mind there for a minute. I'm losing my mind. That's one of the screws that somebody thought they'd play mechanic on. That one right there. Nice. Okay, so I pulled this apart. You'll see down in there is a circlip. Pop that circlip. That washer will come out, and then this here main jet is set with a circlip. It has different heights. It has 5 different settings. So this one's set at number 2 and it adjusts the height of that, which adjusts your main jet. So I'm going to start at that point, and then I believe that I'm going to have to rejet this thing, because as you noticed when I showed you the bike, it has custom exhaust on it. Okay, all this stuff's garbage, unless you're a hoarder like me. Then you put it all back in this little Ziploc bag and put it in your carburetor toolbox labeled XS650. So there we have it. So if you want to test that you got a good seal on your main slide diaphragm, hold your thumb over the smiley face, press up on it, and see if the vacuum holds it. So the diaphragm's not leaking, but it's also not going back down nicely. Just a little test we can do. So that carburetor's good. Now we'll go through the whole process on the other carb, and then we'll throw it on the bike. I didn't film taking these carburetors off, but we'll talk about that when we go to install them. This carburetor has not been cleaned yet. There's a few different options for that. This is the option I like because it's the cheapest. Just soak everything real good. These carbs were clean. They were just seized from sitting for the last 100 years. So this is more of a show you what's going on here than anything. And yes, wear gloves because this shit is toxic. So we'll give everything a good soak. And then we'll get our air line and we'll blow out all the passages and channels and everything. I'm going to cut it there for a minute. One thing I like to do with these little chokes is, if you look down inside, you can't really see that, but there's a little seat. Dump all our parts out. There's a little seat that, there's your choke plunger. You can see that it's rubber inside, and that seats down in there. So I want to make sure that that surface down in there that mates up with is nice and clean, exceptionally clean, because I don't want that to leak. You can see the plunger working in there. Look at that. That's amazing. So I was blowing this thing out. I just made sure that all the possible passageways are clean. I'm gonna have a look at, make sure that all the little holes are clear, not full of any varnish. Main jet's got holes all up and down there. Make sure it's not full of varnish or anything. Same with this little vent tube. If you do have something that's been sitting around for any amount of time and it's crusted up, invest in it's a tip cleaner for torches. Works great for carburetors. You just want to be careful because it is so I'm just making sure that that line there is clear. It's brass, so you want to kind of be a little bit careful. Even though these are new, still want to have a look at them, make sure they're clear, make sure they actually have holes where you're expecting to see holes. Make sure the gasket surface is nice and clean. Plunger. Spring, new gasket, old nut and seal, unfortunately. Although this one looks a lot better than the other one. Function test, make sure it's going to do what you want it to do. Returns. So we are having to use the old spring on the fuel pilot, air pilot, whatever the fuck this thing is. Don't screw that in too tight. Half, 1, half, 2 1/4. Choke rod, just a little brace. Bolt these carburetors together. Before we do that, we should put this little bridge fuel line on. Which has these little stupid compression things that don't do fuck all. See if we can fix this one a bit. There we go. Give it a little extra squeeze. I probably will eventually replace this little fuel line here. It's not cracked or anything, so. I might end up making a new brace because it is a custom bike. I don't know, that's kind of ugly. Same with this thing here, it's kind of ugly. there's a high potential I have that on backwards. Always take pictures of shit when you take it apart. So another little trick that you can do when you're setting these carbs up on the bench is you want them to, before you get the bike running, and throw a vacuum gauge on it to balance them. Quick trick you can do is you can make your adjustment here to balance your main intake butterfly there. You can use a piece of TIG wire. And you can kind of use it as like a feeler gauge. So you can see that this one here has got real nice bite on the... Probably should cut this. And you go by feel a little bit. And then you just make like little adjustments here. That'll balance them out. I'll give you a starting point anyway. So they feel about the same, pretty close. And what I'm looking for is that they're both opening the same amount at the same time. And that's just a starting point. Once you get the bike running, get these mounted, get the bike running, then obviously throw the vacuum gauges on the intake here, and you can fine tune it that way. That'll be another video. So the only thing left here is to throw this choke rod on, and these little actuators, the actuator rod, and the actuators, you want to make sure they line up. There's a little dimple on the rod, so you want to make sure that the dimple lines up with the actuator lever arm. This was all seized and bent to rat shit when I got this. Make sure those screws end up in the dimples on the actuating rod. So we got something bent. You can see there's a bend here on this, preventing it from actuating nicely, which was kind of what started this whole endeavor. See the bend there? Straighten that out. There we go. That's nice and smooth. Let's see what happens when we put these little things on. Sure, it'll all go for a rat shit. So I think this here is this outboard actuator arm. As you can see there, it's all kind of bent and deformed, and it's causing this thing to not function like it wants to, which is annoying. I'm gonna have to manipulate that around a little bit. Then I believe that that little throttle linkage goes here. That's it. Carbs are rebuilt. Okay, so that there actuating lever had a little bend in it. I gave it a little squeeze and a little tweak, and now can't really see that. There we go. But everything's working nice. Now we're ready to throw those on the bike. You got to pull the intake boots off in order to get the carbs out. They just don't fit between here and the engine. So you pop those off and it makes life so much easier. So I'm gonna take these off and go and clean them all up because they're filthy. We'll be back. So one thing I want to point out here on these intake boots, you got this steel part that kind of fits around the rubber part. You want to pull that apart. You really want to look at this really good. So what I found on this, this would be the left-hand side if you're sitting on the bike. Underneath that, you can see that there's starting to go. That'll be a whole world of, look at that. It's all dry rotted. So this is, that's going to cause me all kinds of grief down the road, so I might as well just replace it now while I'm in the business. For the purpose of finishing this video out, carb boots are off, carbs go in, then we slide these ones, they're old ones, slide them in, and I'm holding the camera and doing this at the same time, so it's kind of difficult. But you get the idea, and then that all goes back together. I'll show you when it's done. And there we go, carbs are in. So this here goes here, but you can see that we had it over here. But you can see that it's all bent. And there's our choke rod that was all bent as well. So I'm thinking that at some point in time, somebody probably laid this bike down and crashed it, and that's why all this stuff is bent, and probably why I ended up with it for dirt cheap. Carbs installed, throttle cable straightened out. Now we can hook up a throttle, we can run our fuel lines, we can run our engine crank breather line, get that dropped below the bike. Carry on with building this thing. So I hope you got something out of that video today. I know that carb videos are a dime a dozen, pretty boring. As you can see, it's really snowy outside. So subscribe, follow along. I jump around all over the place, and maybe we'll get back to this bike one day in another video. In the meantime, stay warm. Talk to you.